beautiful day to have a great celebration of a beautiful life. And we're going to start the way my good friend Carmen would want to have some music. And so we're going to start with some música while you all find your place. Thank you. And featuring one of our music students, theater music students, Alejandra Ruiz on vocals.
Creí
That's Alejandra Ruiz from our San Jose City College Theater Music Program.
Thank you. Thank you.
And longtime barrier musician, my compadre Charlie Montoya on bass guitar. And good afternoon. Welcome, familia. How are we today? My name is Jesus Covarrubias. I'm a professor of ethnic studies and music right here at City College. Now celebrating, I think, my 23rd year. Yeah, 26 years of marriage. 23rd year here at San Jose City College, and it's wonderful to have you all with us on this beautiful day to celebrate a beautiful life. And we're really, really proud that City College had a connection to a person who was so influential in the lives of many of us, Carmen Castellano, que en paz descanse. And so we're really happy that you are here. On behalf of our Latinx Education Association that Carmen was a co-founder of. We are proud to say that we're still here, and there's still a tremendous amount of work being done that she started many, many years ago. I just want to take a moment to briefly acknowledge the members of our Latinx Education Association for, given these circumstances, doing the best that they can to help us do a safe gathering today. So thank you very much, Latinx Education Association members that are here today. Muchas gracias. And at this time, I'd like to invite the co-chairs of our Latinx Education Association, Dr. Fabio Gonzalez, who's the director of our EOPS program, and Xiomara Martinez, who are two of our co-chairs of our Latino Education Association. Gracias.
Hello, everybody. My name is Xiomara Martinez. Welcome. Bienvenidos to Carmen Castellano's Celebration of Life. Today, we come together to celebrate La Madrina de San Jose City College Latinx Education Association. On behalf of LEA classified employees, faculty, and administrators, we honor the legacy of Carmen by displaying the event that she cherished most, the La Raza Commencement. So that's the banner behind us. Our LEA family will continue to carry the torch on behalf of Carmen. Carmen's legacy for social change, representation, and success for Latinx students at SJCC was her passion. Carmen, we know that you are looking down on us, and you will continue to watch over us since the work is still not done. We know that you are here with us to make sure our students at SJCC continue to thrive. We are forever thankful to the Castellano family for sharing Carmen with us. Carmen's legacy will continue to be present at our college and among our community. Rest in peace, Madrina.
Thank you, and welcome to everyone. I can assure you that this was all set up nicely, and we can feel Carmen here because she likes to move things around. If you don't know Carmen like Jesus and I did, every time she invited me to her house to have a meeting about Lea, it wasn't to talk on how you're doing, Fabio. It wasn't to have a conversation to say, hey, so nice to see you. How are you guys doing in Lea? What's going on? Who's the new president? Byron Brillant. How's it treating you? He's treating us okay. How about your board of trustees? What are they doing? They're doing good. What changes need to take place? What's going on, guys? How can I help? How can we support the Latino students? What can we do? How many faculty have you guys hired in the last year? A few, actually. How many Latinos are in there? A few. Good. How are the unions doing? Well, they're doing okay. They got to do more. What changes need to take place here? Every time Carmen talked to me, didn't talk to me with a filter. Never. Every time I had a conversation with Carmen was not about her holding herself back. She wanted Lea to carry a legacy that she established a group of warriors, a group of people that wanted to bring change about a system that was not providing it to us. And she brought that forward. She implanted that legacy in every single one of us so that we don't hold back. I am a faculty member, tenure, that doesn't mean nothing at this college. A PhD doesn't mean nothing either. What they see is this undocumented student that came through this gate and graduated, and that's what Carmen saw. She saw the future. She saw the changes, and she saw what we can do. I really want to thank Al because I went to his house so many times with Jesus, and Carmen was always firm. If we brought an issue to her, she wanted to know, are you working on the solution? If we were going to ask her, we want to give some scholarship to students, how much money are you guys raising? She always challenged us, and that was the beauty about Carmen. We really cared about her. The legacy that she's leaving behind is for us to carry. We really want to thank you. Our students, algo que ella agradecía lo más. No me den regalos, no me den esto, denme flores, no me tienen que estar dando nada. Miren, háblenle a la comunidad. Hay algo en la comunidad que Carmen lo mirabas en su rostro cuando teníamos la graduación. Era alegría que se le miraba en el rostro. No lo fingía, era algo real. Porque eso, el dinero no era lo que ella estaba interesada, era el cambio a los estudiantes. Y eso era lo más hermoso que se le miraba a ella. Muchas gracias. Thank you to the Castellano family. And I hope we're doing our best to memorialize her with this amazing building, but her legacy as well, because we never give up and the fight continues, Carmen. Aquí seguimos y no nos vamos. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'd like to invite up our San Jose City College President, Dr. Rowena Tamanang.
I think I could do this with the mask. So thank you so much, Jesus. Thank you, Fabio and Ziamora. Good afternoon, everyone. As president of San Jose City College, it's my privilege to welcome you to SJCC and our memorial event for our longtime colleague and Jaguar family member, Carmen Castellano. I want to extend my appreciation to LEA members, SJCC faculty and staff, members of the Castellano family, and all those who helped to make this memorial happen today. I want to also extend and express my deep condolences to Al and Carmela and the entire Castellano family. There is no doubt that Carmen left an indelible mark, not just on the community, but on San Jose City College. She cared for both deeply. She founded the Latino Education Association, and it is a testament to her vision, as Fabio has just mentioned, that Latinx faculty, administrators, and classified professionals be a voice for change on campus and in our community. As we celebrate our 100th anniversary, it's remarkable to note that Carmen was a part of our campus community as an employee, organizer, advocate, activist, and philanthropist for more than 50 years. It is fitting that in 2012, our campus honored Carmen by dedicating our fine arts building to her. I didn't know Carmen personally, but her influence and that of the Castellano Family Foundation, which Carmen and her husband Al established, are felt beyond our campus, especially in the arts and civic leadership area. I first learned about the Castellano family and the foundation over 10 years ago when I was at another college a few miles away, and I supervised a civic engagement institute. The foundation awarded grants to support my student leaders and other civic engagement projects. Today, the foundation continues to provide scholarships to many San Jose City College students and other students in our local community. Carmen was a role model of leadership and activism when women of color were not expected or encouraged to be leaders for change. Carmen showed us how to be courageous, tenacious, and generous. We miss her, but we know her influence and impact will endure for generations. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tamanang. And also on behalf of San Jose City College, we want to welcome up the Chancellor of the San Jose Evergreen Community College District, Dr. Byron Cliff Breland.
Thank you, Professor Covarrubias. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone who actually had anything to do with this setup. It's amazing for us to be able to come out to recognize such a marvelous human being. And before I even make any remarks, I also want to share my deepest condolences and respect to the Castellano family. And I want to thank you for sharing Carmen with us as a staff member, first and foremost, and then, of course, an ongoing philanthropist and community advocate. So thank you so much, and I know that it's been some tough days ahead, and we're hoping that with this type of remembrance and celebration, you'll keep that in your heart and know that Carmen's spirit lives on. So with that, now I'll share a few remarks. In general, I won't stay too long, but I do want to say thanks to everybody for coming out. And as we actually prepare, to go out and vote, folks, one of the messages that I've heard that really has resonated with me is to make sure that we vote about things or vote on things that are in the self-interest of others, more so than ourselves. In that way, we will change the world. And I think that Carmen in her life have embodied this principle of making sure that you take care of other people. We talked a little bit about her legacy, and folks have mentioned that, so I don't want to repeat too much, but a legacy is such that it leaves behind a mark that continues to grow and sets an example for others. And Carmen has done some tremendous things across the district. Not only has she been engaged in making sure that classified staff interests were represented, as she was one of the original pioneers of the Classified Senate. She's also been one of the originators of the LEA organization, the Latino Education Association. Carmen was also a philanthropist, as we all know. And one of the programs that she supported across the district at Evergreen Valley College, by the way, in addition to the work that she's done here at San Jose City College, is the Enlace program, which was recently recognized in Excelencia Education for being a model program in terms of that. And Enlace program, for those of you that don't know, supports the attainment of Chicano and Latinx students in AA degrees as well as transfer to four-year institutions. And she was a star supporter of that program for many years, which is now recognized. And I want to make sure that I mention that to you all. And finally, what I'll say in closing is just, again, that may Carmen's family, find peace in these uncertain times and make sure you continue to hold and love one another and love the community that's also embraced Carmen and will continue to embrace you. And I hope that, you do sense and feel the love and connection that we have with Carmen. And finally, on behalf of our Board of Trustees, and you're going to hear from Trustee Fuentes shortly as well, I want to send my respect to you and again also to the memory of Carmen Castellano for being such a great advocate of social justice and advocacy for education here in the Chicano Latinx community and all students and all people. And so with that, Godspeed, Carmen Castellano, and take great care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chancellor Breland. As many of you know, Carmen left a mark here also within the classified ranks, helping to establish the Classified Employees Senate, and the good work that she helped to advocate for the classified employees of our college and the district is also something that is still carried forward. And at this time, I'd like to invite the current president of our Classified Senate, Andrea Lopez.
Thank you, Jesus.
It is such an honor to be celebrating Carmen's life. She was a strong mujer
who while at San Jose City College organized and led as the president of the Classified Senate. Although I never had the opportunity to meet Carmen, we both share one thing in common. We both clearly understand that our classified members are the backbone of the college. She proudly and fiercely advocated for our classified members. Carmen and I stand to honor, Carmen, I'm sorry. I stand here to honor you and to share that I proudly carry your legacy and fiercely advocate that you advocated for over 20 years. Thank you for being an exemplary model, and to all of those who are often overlooked and overpowered. You paved the way for Mujeres Latinas in leadership. Thank you for leadership. And my condolences to the Castellano family. And Carmen, que Dios te bendiga y que estés en paz. At this time, I would just want to let you know that one of our students, she made these recordatorios, and we will have our members of the college going around to give one for you to take home. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Familia, how we doing? Everybody okay? All right. Again, we are here to celebrate a beautiful life, and this is a joyous occasion in that sense. And in a little while, we'll be inviting you all to get a closer look of the altar. If you haven't had a chance, you'll get a chance to do that. And of course, as we go forward, we are honored to have the Honorable Mayor of San Jose, California. Thank you for being here, Sam Liccardo.
Thank you, Professor Covarrubias. Thank you for having me. And I want to especially thank Al and Carmela and Maria and Armando for inviting me to join. I'm very grateful to be here with you. Thank you. And I'm joined by another mayor of the city of San Jose, Ron Gonzalez. Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez, for being here with us. I have had the pleasure of knowing Carmen Castellano during her extraordinary life. But I'm here really, I think I was invited more than anything because I represent a community that is incredibly grateful for all that she has done through her leadership and through her service. And it's appropriate that we're here at City College, not merely because this art center behind us bears her name, but because in so many ways in her 3.5 decades of service to the students and the community here, this was a perfect preparation for what would be her second career in philanthropy. It was here that she engaged with certainly those in positions of authority, but daily worked with young people in our community who sacrificed and struggled to overcome financial barriers to educational achievement as she had. Her mark on our community was made well before that fateful day that Al bought a lottery ticket. I was here at San Jose City College where she decided that she would not be confined by her formal role, as you've already heard, as a co-founder of LEA, and her work as president of the Classified Employees Senate, as co-founder of the Affirmative Action Committee. Her passion for equity, for racial diversity, was clearly felt by the thousands of students here who benefited from her work. And then, of course, came the next chapter of her life. And as a philanthropist, she is, of course, an essential part of an extraordinary team. Whenever you exchange emails with Carmen and Al, the email address, of course, says Carmen and Al. And Tom Alvarado actually pointed this out to me the other day, and how appropriate it was, because they were an incredible team. They were wonderful together, as uniquely different as they were, yet wonderfully complementary. Al was a dreamer, had lots of big ideas. Carmen was studious and focused. She asked a lot of tough questions, and I talked to several nonprofit leaders, and all of them noted how Carmen was taking notes in every conversation. She was focused and she was determined to ensure that she was doing the best she could to leverage resources for the benefit of the community, and that she was going to be respectful and gracious, but at times demanding and direct, because she knew that's what was best for the community, to ensure that every organization that benefited was being well guided as well. And they shared a determination that their good fortune would be the community's good fortune. In the words of the great playwright Luis Valdez, "Tu eres mi otro yo," you are my other me. That was Carmen's spirit, and was so strongly felt by so many of us in the community. And so her co-founding of the Castellano Family Foundation, and particularly her leadership of it, had several impacts that will be felt for generations in our community. But again, as with the first chapter of her life, she refused to be bound by her formal role. She wasn't simply going to be the archetypical wealthy person who wrote a check and went away. She was going to roll up her sleeves and get deeply engaged. You know, there are far too many organizations to name. There have been more than 200, I'm told, that the foundation has been an integral part of and sustaining and supporting. But I think we can define the impacts of this foundation already in 3 ways, particularly of Carmen's role. First, it was that, as I mentioned, Carmen didn't simply write a check. She rolled up her sleeves. She didn't just serve on the board of Los Lepeños. It was by her leadership in Los Lepeños that she was able to bring people like Connie Martinez and the U.S. Undersecretary of Education, Martha Cantor, to also join the board. And I know her daughters also participated as dancers in Los Lepeños. And because she wanted to elevate the profile, she wanted to create something even greater. And with many key partners, including Connie, as well as Tamara and others, she was able to resurrect and transform the Mexican Heritage Plaza, to reinvent it as La Escuela de Arte y Cultura, which has become a national model of arts and culture education, and indeed a jewel of our city. And of course, she and Al sustained many other Latinx arts organizations, notably MACLA, which now offers the community a black box theater, bearing, of course, the family name, and the Castellano Playhouse, and Teatro Visión, and many others. But for our entire cultural landscape, Carmen was there. It was San Jose Jazz, it was Cinequest, so many other critical parts of our cultural community. And what was so important was that she was bold about this. Yes, she was careful. Yes, she took copious notes, but she was bold. It was often the Castellano Foundation that was the first one in. And because they were in, then others thought it was okay to support and be a part of it as well. That is what really enriched our cultural landscape and elevated it here in San Jose, in this region. Second, it was Carmen's legacy about ensuring that philanthropic leadership would look like and more directly serve and engage with our community. Carmen became, of course, a vocal advocate, as we all know, for equity and inclusion, proudly referred to herself as the brown face of philanthropy. She understood the power that she had to transform how others with money and influence could see our community. She pushed for more representation of Latinx community on the boards and more diverse boards, and to deepen commitments. And I love the story that Sal Pizarro recounted. Actually, I think it was what Al told Sal in his story in the Mercury News a few months ago, about how after 8 years, Carmen was invited to speak at the conference, a National Conference of Family Foundations. And she decried the lack of family foundation money that went to Latinx organizations nationwide. And there were people in the audience, according to Al, who said, who shouted at her and said, no, that's not true, that's not true. But Carmen stood her ground, and she said, I'll bring you the paperwork to show it. And she did. And she understood that she was in a unique position to speak truth to power. And she did. The third way I believe she's had such an incredible impact on our community, quite simply, is that she believed in us. And I'm particularly grateful for this. Carmen and Al bucked the tide of deciding if they had made their money, they'd move up to the peninsula somewhere and be a part of some high-profile set of initiatives and get national acclaim being somewhere else. For them, it was about our community. It always was. And particularly we know in the arts, we know there's such a challenge to get folks engaged in supporting the arts, and arts philanthropy has a tendency to follow that path north to us, from us, I should say. But Carmen believed in us, in our community, that we had a jewel of creativity that was worth polishing, and particularly in our own Latinx community, which of course, in our city, 1 in 3 of us can claim to be a part of. She opened her home for nonprofits to be able to fundraise. She pushed the suburbs to get engaged in what was happening and what was authentic in San Jose and what was diverse and dynamic and creative about our cultural landscape. So simply, Carmen believed in us. And for that, I am so deeply grateful. And as a city, we honored Carmen and Al with our initial Cornerstone of the Arts Award in 2015. That continues now to be an annual award. We are forever indebted to Carmen for her leadership and her service. And I know the torch has been passed, certainly to Carmela, and Armando and Maria will continue to do great work in their own way. But the legacy is for all of us to fulfill. And Carmen won't be content unless she knows that her life was a catalyst for something much greater. Of course, in life and in death, I know that she is not content simply to be relegated to a formal role. She will continue to push all of us. Thank you. God bless.
Now back to the Chaparro. Thank you, Mayor Ricardo. Now, familia, some of you may have noticed inside this beautiful program, there is a resolution that was recently passed by our Board of Trustees. I'm not going to read the entire resolution to you, but I do want to read the last paragraph with the resolve so that you understand why we did this. After details regarding Carmen's legacy, the last paragraph reads, "Therefore be it resolved that henceforth, September 6th of each year will be declared and celebrated as Carmen Castellano Day in the San Jose Evergreen Community College District in remembrance of Carmen as a model of lasting love, generosity, faith, and advocacy, which continues to enrich SJCC and all that she touched throughout her life. On this day each year, our community will be encouraged to celebrate with arts programming that demonstrates our collective commitment to arts education." And this was approved October 13th by the San Jose Evergreen Community College District Board of Trustees. And at this time, I want to acknowledge one of our board members who was really instrumental in getting this together so that we could, September 6th, by the way, back in 2012 was when we inaugurated the Castellano Fine Arts Center. And so now we will remember that every September 6th. And I'll make sure we'll do some programming that is to Carmen's standard. But really, it was also with the great support and the leadership of one of our longtime community members and board members. And I want to introduce Trustee Maria Fuentes.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. It's very difficult to stand in front of you. I actually had a speech, but it's very difficult to not say and speak from a personal level. First of all, I want to mention and say that the reason we have this building named after Carmen is because of this gentleman here. It was his idea. He had a vision and he made it happen. So I really want to thank Jesus for doing this, because this was the most appropriate thing for us to do, to honor an amazing, amazing person who made history in our district. And I also want to let you know, you might already know this, that we only have 2 buildings named after an individual in our college. One is the Cesar Chavez Library. The other is the Carmen Castellano Art Center. So that tells you how much we want to remember the life and work of Carmen. I think that one of the things that I wrote is, when I remember Carmen's leadership, I remember the clarity, directness, and calmness of her work, Carmen's powerful stature that moved with determination for justice and opportunity. I also remember Carmen as my friend, her beautiful, sweet smile, the sound of her voice and her laughter, her listening and her smiling, the richness of her expressions are unforgettable to all of us. Yes, we remember Carmen. I feel blessed that I have memories of the times that I was able to have lunch with Carmen. And I remember the way we would kind of have the same conversation. It was always the excitement of her grandchildren, the things they were doing, her children, the travels with Al and the different adventures. And always another thing would come up, that she would talk about her mother. And her mother must have been an incredible person, because Carmen says she had a business, an organized home, did so much, and she also gave opportunities for her children. As I would listen to Carmen, I would think, okay, Carmen is doing the same thing. She followed that legacy. And, Carmen worked so hard. I, as a trustee, I want you to know that I would not be standing here as a trustee if it wasn't for Carmen. I was appointed, and the first thing that a conversation I had with her, was she asked me if she could help me on my campaign. I didn't have to ask. She came to me and offered. But the thing that Carmen did was she was the volunteer coordinator, because, this was a big, big new thing for me to be a candidate. And we were successful. We got 74% of the votes in this election, and it was Carmen. Another time, I was not going to run. I said, Carmen, we have a Latina chancellor. We have so many things already accomplished. I think it's time for somebody else to come in. No, Maria, you have to stay. You have to stay. And so she kept me working, and probably some of you have experienced the same thing. She just keeps you motivated. The last thing I want to say is I want to close by a personal memory. And it's a very special memory that I have. This is imagining the mornings of the home of Carmen and Al. What happens in the mornings of Carmen and Al? This is what I imagine and I knew. I've known Carmen for 30 years, but the first time that I called her in the morning, Al answered and he said, Carmen is still asleep. Carmen is still sleeping. Can you call later? Okay. So then again, I called again. Carmen is still asleep. Can you call later? So I never called in the morning because I knew that Carmen was always resting, and I knew that Al was always there, basically to protect her from any interruption of her restful sleep. So the other thing I wanted to share with you, and maybe someone else will say the same story, but the story that Al tells is that when he found out he got the lotto, he got the ticket and he found out, it was early in the morning, very, very early in the morning. He talked about how he took his time, went for a walk, made sure, took his time before he went and told Carmen. So he went in and he woke up Carmen, which was really unusual. She got scared. But he told her about what they had won, that they had won the lotto. And what I remember is that the first thing that Carmen said was, think of all the people that we can help. I mean, that's Carmen. That's Carmen's, that is Carmen, that is her legacy, that is her lessons. I believe that here at City College, as you've heard Jesus, you heard Andrea, you heard Fabio, what we do is we follow her legacy. And honestly, I know that being able to say when we have our challenges, what would Carmen do? What would Carmen do is what will keep us motivated and pushing you. Like I was telling Angel earlier, I am working very hard as a trustee. I have to work very hard because of all the things that we have to do. And it's all about social justice. It's all about giving more opportunities to our students and our community and our staff. That's what I learned, honestly, that's what I learned from Carmen, how to be a good trustee. And I believe that what she taught us, some of the other trustees that she got a chance to influence, is just that. So we're advocates. Social justice is one of our main values. And the problem is, what is the problem? We have to work hard to make it a reality because it doesn't happen by itself. And Carmen showed us that. So thank you, Al and Carmen, Al and Carmela, Maria, Armando's not here, and all your family, Angel, and your grandsons. Thank you so much. We think of you, we love you, and, you're always in our hearts. Thank you.
All right. Where are our retirees? Retirees, raise your hand. Throw your fist in the air. Where are you at? We want to welcome our retirees to San Jose City College. Están en su casa, bienvenidos, como siempre. We're glad that you are here. And representing for our retirees is, when I first came on board here back in '97, I was hired. And I'd get introduced to people, and I had just gotten hired to teach, ethnic studies, Chicano studies. And people who were working here, they're like, oh, you're the new Rudy. And everywhere I went, oh, you're the new Rudy. I'm like, my name's Jesus. But when I got to know the Rudy that they were talking about, it was definitely a huge compliment to be associated with our own Rudy Cordova, who needs no introduction, but he is one of our beloved retirees from San Jose City College who worked very closely with Carmen. And Rudy, we're glad to have you here. Estás en tu casa como siempre, bienvenido. Aquí estás entre familia como siempre. Welcome, Rudy Cordova.
Thank you, Jesus. It's nice to be retired, I'll tell you that. No, I have to carry on Maria's story about Al winning the lotto. It was like 6 or 6:30 in the morning on that day that he was announcing his luck. And Maria, my wife, Maria Cordova, said, Al wants to talk to you. I said, it's 6:30. What does he want? Al says, well, I won the lotto. I said, well, how much? And he told me the amount. And I said, oh, that's nice. Thank you. And then he said, no. I want you to translate the questions that the Spanish language TV station has asked. And I don't understand all this, so will you translate all their questions? I did. I said, it took a little while. Took it over to Al. He had all the translations. And then when they interviewed him, they didn't ask any of those questions. So that's the way it went. Anyway, I came here to San Jose City College 51 years ago, and I was hired to be the head of the brand new Chicano Studies department. Incidentally, they also started Black Studies at the same time. Now, if you remember 1969, That was a tremendous time of turmoil. There was all kinds of protests going on. Everybody who had any kind of interest in changing our society was protesting. The Chicanos were protesting, the blacks were protesting, the Asians were protesting, the gays were protesting, Native Americans, and all those who were against the Vietnam War were protesting. And there was a protest here at City College, the old administration building, that now long gone. And incidentally, you're sitting where my office used to be, right over there. So, anyway, the students did occupy that building, and it took helicopters and police force to bring the demonstration to an end. And from that turmoil, from that protest, came the ethnic studies departments. So how do you start from scratch? Where do you go? Who are your friends? Who's going to help you get these courses going? So we did what we could as a department, but we also needed friends. And one of those friends was, of course, Carmen. She was already here when I came. So she had the info. And of course, information is power. And we could use that power to our advantage. Incidentally also, there was a administrator here called Dr. Goff, who came to me one day and said, you know, you cost me a lot of change. I had to do a lot of finagling to get your department going. And it took me a lot to accommodate, this is his words, to accommodate you donkeys. And so donkeys are stubborn, and we're still here. So Goff is gone, incidentally. So Carmen, of course, had the experience of working with the faculty senate and then with several presidents, and that was our source that we went to. And so if we needed anything, we knew whom to consult, Carmen. So, and of course, she had the advice and the information that was great. Now, as you know, and it's already been mentioned several times, that Carmen was a patron of the arts. This building, of course, is a testament to that. And the arts, music, and literature that she supported has already been mentioned, but she also supported a lot of individuals. She was friends with the artists and, of course, encouraged them personally. We had a friend who was going to be here, but Luis Gutierrez is one of those, and he benefited tremendously from her support. Of course, there were many others. On one occasion, Maria and I were, besides colleagues here at college, we were also friends with Al and Carmen. And on one occasion, we went to a musical event, a concert, and the band leader asked her if she had any special request. And she said, yes, Estrellita. Now, Estrellita literally means little star, but the ita part means is a term of endearment. So if you say guapo, you can also say guapito, which is even more handsome. So I don't know why I remember that request. It stuck with me, and when I was asked to speak here, that's the first thing that came to my head, Estrellita. Estrellita is a very haunting, melodic piece, love story, and it's hard to sing. But violinists really love it. And if you've ever heard it, you know what I'm talking about. It's very, very soul-binding. Now, the gist of this is that now, for me, Carmen is an estrellita. So I have written a few words in Spanish to honor my favorite estrellita, my favorite dear star. And it goes something like this. Carmencita, aún sigues guiándonos desde donde estás, allá como aquí en la tierra. Tu luz alumbra nuestros pasos hacia las buenas obras. Tu energía invade los corazones de los que continúan con tus hechos. La melodía de tu ser vibra en nuestras memorias. Los que te conocieron no te olvidarán. Si debe ser, así debe ser como son las estrellitas. Estás en mi corazón y en mis recuerdos. Que viva la estrellita Carmencita y esta noche búscala en el cielo. Shine on, Carmen. Gracias.
Now, tell us again, why did you want to retire, Señor? We need you back here again. Thank you, Professor Rudy Cordova. And, you know, we have a lot of talent amongst our retirees, and Rudy's one of them. We also have talent amongst those that refuse to retire. And I kid him because he's my really good friend, but one of our next speakers has told me some stories about Carmen, and I said, you know, we got to have you up here. And of course, he's taught in administration of justice and political science. Our beloved very own Phil Crawford.
This is what Carmen would want me to tell you. I have been here, I started full-time 46 years ago in 1974, and I had taught here part-time before that in the Administration of Justice program since 1970. So I've been teaching here now for 50 years, and in 2 months I'll start my 51st year consecutively. When I came here as a part-time instructor, I was a police officer, and I think I was the youngest officer ever to be promoted to sergeant at San Jose PD at the time. I did well and was highly regarded right up until the time that we had a black man shot named John Henry Smith by San Jose PD. And a lot of folks condemned it, but police officers with Code Blue didn't. I did, and I think I was the only white officer that described it as an execution. And I did everything I could to see that those officers involved were brought to justice, but ultimately they were acquitted. 2 of them were fired, 1 remained. But the reason I mention that is because when I came to the Senate, I knew very little about it, and I was recruited to the job by Rudy and Charles because they knew of my social activism, and they had to explain to Carmen that I was okay in spite of the fact that I was a cop coming into the Senate, that this guy's all right, we can trust him. And in my first year in the Senate, in my first year of teaching, I came on the Senate. I was recruited by Charles and Rudy to do that as well. And in the spring of 1975, I was elected Senate President. And I think that's because Evergreen opened and Angelo Antando, who was president, was leaving and going to Evergreen. So they had nobody to do it. So they elected me. I knew nothing about the Senate, really, but I had a distinguished career for 6 years as Senate President because Carmen knew everything about the Senate. And she would bring to me folders of this is what you need to do, and tell me the history and the background. and I would go out and do whatever Carmen told me to do. And as a result, I got a lot of acclaim and praise for, being such a great Senate president. And I was honest, and I said, Carmen's the Senate president. It's not me. I don't deserve the credit here. I couldn't do this without her. And she was so talented. She was a stenographer, and she could take notes like a court reporter. If ever any question or anything happens, she'd go back and it's written verbatim. She was a marvelous person, and I think angelic, and there are two wings to that angel. One of them is the arts, and the other is social justice. You did not want to get on the wrong side of Carmen if you were advocating something that was unjust. And she walked the talk. We had a president here who, Byron should know that he was not the first black president of San Jose City College. It was a Byron Skinner. And they hired Carmen to be, she was promoted out of the Senate to be the executive secretary. And evidently, this Byron had some ideas that were not, in Carmen's mind, ethical. So Carmen quit, took a demotion, and said, I can't work with you. And that was the end of that. She was the strongest advocate I knew for workers. I've known Al and Carmen for so many years, and when I ran for sheriff in 1982, they opened up their house for me and had a house, invited all the neighbors to come in. I think those are probably the only people that voted for me. But it was wonderful to have her support. And when I went to law school, she was so happy, encouraged me, and through a colleague of hers, Faye Bremon, they threw a big party for me when I passed the bar exam. And they gave me a plaque that said, congratulations, the district's worst nightmare has now become a reality. Phil Crawford with a law degree and a license to practice law. I hope that I haven't led up to that prediction, but I was so blessed to have known her, to know her family. Her children were here. There's student services right over there where that science building is now. And they would come here and they were dressed up in their costumes and so forth for the dances and recitals. And when Carmen's daughter was admitted to Yale Law School, she called me and she was so excited about that. And very, very much paid attention to both social justice and the arts. It is said that in a parable that Christ once said that it is harder for a wealthy man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And sometimes wealth does affect people. As a divorce attorney, I had a client who was divorcing someone who won the lotto, but he didn't tell her that he won the lotto. Instead, he tried to divorce her so he could keep it all himself. So not everybody does the wonderful things with money that Carmen and Al have, and to their credit. So I think that the gates of heaven have opened up widely in that eye of the needle. This family is blessed with the wonderful head of the household, Al and Carmen, working so hard for social justice, being such a role model. I'm very, very proud to have been part of her life and to continue to be part of my good friends, the Castellanos. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciate you. They always say it's always good to know a lawyer. All right, we also, one of our next featured, how are we doing, familia? Everybody good? Is everybody okay? We do have some waters, I believe, available over here if anyone would like. Okay, our next speaker, a former interim president of San Jose City College, Dr. Leo Chavez. Bienvenido, welcome, good to have you, señor.
Thank you. I think I'm going to stumble through this. I'm going to stumble through it for two reasons. One doesn't really matter, but I'll mention it anyway. I stayed up most of last night trying to think of what to say today. Say something that would appropriately recount Carmen's contributions. And of course, having lost that night's sleep, everybody who's come before me has basically said everything I planned to say. Secondly, and more importantly, I am overwhelmed by that sign. I mean, Al, when we first met, did you ever think you would see a sign like that? Yeah, you did, didn't you? Yes, I figured that, beyond that. But you see, I was young and stupid and naive when I first came to San Jose City College, taken under the wings of one Rudy Cordova, and Carmen Castellano, and Phil Crawford. There's quite a link there. And like Phil, I too went to the Academic Senate. In fact, I went there because of him. And I think I was 28, 29, didn't know anything. My first year, second year here, hardly knew what I was doing in the classroom, much less now I'm representing the faculty. But like Phil said, I didn't have anything to worry about because Carmen did it all. Told me what to do. Showed me how to do it. Held me accountable. And like everybody said, she was very direct. If she wasn't happy about what you did, you knew. But she did it only in the most positive and supportive way. And in fact, I think maybe the best thing I could say about Carmen is that in the whatever 45 years or so that I've known Carmen, she did not change one single bit. Not from the day I walked into that academic senate and said, hello, my name is Leo Chavez, until we lost her. And despite all of her accomplishments, she remained humble, she remained dignified, she remained focused and disciplined, she remained committed to helping others. And maybe some of you are thinking, well, if this woman was so accomplished, what was she doing at City College? Why didn't she go on to lead a large organization, be the CEO, run for office, lead a community? And maybe she didn't accomplish everything she could have. Well, my answer to that is, that's just pure bunk. I could use another word, but I better not. You see, Carmen understood something very fundamental. And that was she had a mission in life. And she never wavered from that mission. She was a giver. And she also knew she wanted to have more than one role. I mean, Carmen, yes, was an educator, but she was also a wife, a mother, and a philanthropist. I mean, she was that from day one. She was a philanthropist mostly by giving of herself. But most people find it next to impossible to do jobs like that, all of them. They usually decide, I want to be rich and powerful, so I'm not going to focus a lot on my duties as a mother or a wife or in giving to others. Or they somehow find a way to focus on their goals at the expense of, in many cases, their essential humanity. But Carmen understood that San Jose City College represented something rather remarkable. We in California are lucky to have a system of community colleges that, in my opinion, are the greatest democratic institutions the world has ever seen. We take the Carmen Castellanos of the world and turn them into the magnificent, accomplished human beings that they ultimately become. And we don't care where they come from. We don't care who their parents were. We don't care how much money they have. All we care is about their ability to work, their desire, their dreams, and to turn those dreams into reality. So Carmen was in exactly the place that she needed to be. Because by being here, she affected untold thousands of lives, made them better, helped them achieve their dreams in a way she could not have done any other way. And in doing that, she was also able to be a good wife to Al. Yes, nodded yes, good. A terrific mother. You can always tell the quality of a woman by the children she has raised. And in that regard, I can only say what an outstanding job she has done with such outstanding people. So Carmen was right where she needed to be. And I'm grateful that the college has recognized her in the way it has with this building. Because Carmen was, is, and forever will be San Jose City College. And when San Jose City College or any institution is looking for a hero to memorialize, I can think of no one better than Carmen. I wish we could find an author to write her biography, because I know the title. Carmen, an American Hero. We're better because of you, Carmen. We'll miss you, and thank you for making us all better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez. So, in 1997, I guess I was about 27 years old, still wet behind the ears. I had only been teaching a few years. I was working at a high school. And I saw a job opening right here at City College, and I told my wife, look, this is the job for me. And I jumped all over it. Long story short, I show up to the interview. Even though I was wet behind the ears, I kind of had an overabundance of confidence. If you walked in there with the Berkeley and Stanford degree under my belt, and I said, I'm going to do this, right? And I walk into the interview room, and there was 9 people and me. They're sitting all on the other side of this big table. And I think, Maria, you were on the committee as well. And, I look around, and of course, I didn't know any of these folks. There's administrators, there's classified representation from all quarters of the campus. But there was one person on this committee that was the most intimidating person of all. And she's peering at me over her glasses, like this. And I tried to avoid eye contact with her throughout the interview, but that was a very difficult thing to do. Thankfully, they saw something in me and brought me on board. And I got to know Maria, I got to know Carmen, and eventually I got to know Rudy, and of course I got to know Al. At first I thought Al was one of the employees here at the college, because at all of our events he would show up with his camera and be taking pictures, which I still need to go through because we're missing some historical pictures from our campus. But and I got to know Carmen really well, and I think part of what drew me to Carmen was that we had something in common, in that I got into education partly because I see a crisis in our educational system. And I get up every day to do my job, and I have a sense of urgency to my job. And I think Carmen had the same kind of sense of urgency, and by that I'm referring to advocacy for social justice and change. And I even tell my son, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're probably a part of the problem, because there's always room for improvement. And I've always been one to not be overly optimistic. I like to celebrate accomplishments, certainly, but I think sometimes too much optimism can breed complacency. And I've always felt like life's too short to be complacent and to always fight for what's next. What do we still have to work on? Who's not being served? And these are the values that I saw in Carmen, in the work that she did on a daily basis. And I think that's kind of where there was some synergy with the work I have tried to do over the years. Our Latino Education Association was at one point we were struggling. We didn't have any folks involved. We didn't have very many Latinos on campus. When I got hired, I was one of the only faculty members in LEA. Was made up predominantly of our classified employees, which are very, very strong advocates. But to affect real curricular changes, you need to have faculty involved. And that was something that Carmen, I know, believed in, because I don't even think I was here for one semester when all of a sudden I am the co-chair and president of LEA, and I was like still trying to figure out where the parking lot was. But that was Carmen, who was wanting to push, because she saw a vision, she saw something that needed to be changed within our institution, and we worked very hard over the years. And we did a lot of great work, and I know she was proud and happy where the direction that things were headed when she retired from here, The other little story I wanted to share with you is, I think it was around 2011, 2012. I woke up in the morning and I had this kind of weird dream. And I got to tell you, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not the most mystical person. I'm not the most I don't have lucid dreams. And my wife, on the other hand, she has very lucid dreams, and she'll go on and on about every detail about her dream, and then she keeps going. I'm like, okay, and then the next day, what happened? And she keeps going. These dreams are long. And me, I wake up and I have just little glimpses of things, right? So one morning I wake up and I'm getting ready for work. I'm about to head out to work, and I have this image from my dream that kept popping into my head. And it was an image of Carmen standing at a podium like this one in front of a building, talking. And so I get in my car, I start my commute to work, and I'm thinking, where did that dream come from? Why was I dreaming that Carmen was at a podium in front of a building? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized we are getting ready to launch an arts building on our campus, and it does not have a name on it. And by this time, by 2012, there was so much work that Carmen and Al had been involved with doing for our scholarship program to support the arts in San Jose and the greater Bay Area. And it just hit me. It just hit me upside the head that we needed to make this happen. And I think by the time I got to City College that morning, I had already made at least half a dozen phone calls with our folks in LEA, with Maria Fuentes and others, to see, is this something we can make happen? And gracias a Dios, we were able to make it happen. And I'm reminded of the importance of it whenever I talk to students. And I've had a couple of instances where walking right here on campus, and I talked to students who were in my class, who had me, and they've told me things like, Professor, I feel really proud when I walk across campus and I see a Latina's name on a building. And it makes me feel a sense of pride and hold my head up when I come to campus, because although I may not know who that person was, I know she's Latina. And I know that's important and it means something. And I say, well, you know what, why don't you walk over there and read the plaque on the wall, because you can learn a little bit more about who she was. And so I know that for some folks, these things are buildings, right? They're not alive, or it's a name, but these are symbols for our students. They're symbols of hope, just like our Cesar Chavez Library. These are important, for students and their identity, for them to know that they belong. For a lot of, especially first-generation college students, as Chicanos, we come to campuses, and these are oftentimes foreign places. They're intimidating places. They're places that we don't know whether we belong or not. And I think we at City College have a reminder to our students every day when they come, hey, you belong. And I want to thank Carmen for that, because of her life's work has done wonders for our community, and that legacy certainly lives on, and we are very grateful and thankful. And I want to just thank Al and Carmela and Maria and the entire Castellano family for agreeing to this occasion. When we were planning this, I got on the phone with Maria Fuentes, and we were like, well, should we do another Zoom? And we kind of like looked at each other like the way you look at somebody when you have to do a Zoom conversation, right? And we said, let's try to do it the way it was supposed to be done and the way it should be done. And so we want to really thank you. I want to personally just thank all of you for doing the riesgo, the bit of risk of coming out here to be entre familia, to be in community, because we know that's what Carmen was about, community. And she was always about community. And one of my last conversations with her, we were at a piano concert at her home, and Al, you were there. And I remember she looked at me, she says, how are things at City? And I had known Carmen enough to know that when she's asking me, she's not expecting just the usual, oh, things are good. She wants to know how are things, how is el movimiento? How is the causa? How are we doing in terms of real social justice? Are we moving the needle? How do we know? Are we pretending to be about social justice, or are we really committing ourselves to it? Are we coming to work every day with a sense of urgency? And so I would always have to make sure to be perfectly honest with Carmen, because she could see right through me about it. And I knew her enough and had enough conversations where she would start, if she didn't believe me, she would be like, and then she would start picking at the details. Okay, well, what about this? What about that? As Fabio was telling earlier, that's exactly what Carmen would do every time I got on the phone with her. And so when we planned events, I always knew we better make it the right way and do it by a high standard, because that was Carmen. And that's what we try to bring today, and we hope we were able to do it some justice for her. And with those words, I want to, of course, welcome one of Carmen's legacy, and that's her daughter, Carmela, to come up today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carmela Castellano Garcia, Carmen Castellano's daughter. I would like to start by thanking all the speakers who have come before me. It has truly been a joy to be able to hear so many people who were important to my mother express their appreciation for her and celebrate her life and achievements. And to Maria Fuentes, Phil Crawford, and Leo Chavez, I remember all of you being very, very special to my mother as a little girl growing up, and as an adult, Maria, to this day. Thank you to all of you. On behalf of my family, I want to express a huge gratitude and appreciation to the trustees of the San Jose Evergreen Community College District, to Chancellor Byron Breland and the San Jose Community College President, Dr. Rowena Tomanang, for the great honor you have bestowed on my mother and our family, both with this wonderful celebration today and in designating September 6th as Carmen Castellano Day at San Jose City College from here on out. Wow. That is just so awesome. And we're so proud and honored that you have chosen to acknowledge my mom in this manner. And I also want to express my appreciation to the Latino Education Association. You all know my mother was a very proud co-founder of LEA, and to see all the love and appreciation that you all have for her, it's just so heartwarming. Thank you to Jesus Corubios, Fabio Gonzalez, and Xiomara Martinez, the co-chairs of LEA, as well as the other unwavering champions who are keeping my mom's legacy alive. We truly appreciate all you have done and all you are doing from the bottom of our hearts. And then to all of you who've joined us today, it has not escaped us that we are in the middle of a dangerous and deadly pandemic, and many of the guests that my parents invited are from their age group, and we know you're high risk, and I just want to thank you all so much for loving my mother enough to come here today. We appreciate you all so much. As you all know, we were unable to have a burial that included her family and friends and those who love her to mourn with us. So we're so thankful to San Jose City College and LEA for creating this incredible opportunity for a public memorial in honoring of my mother. Again, thank you so much. I'd like to thank my husband, Angel Garcia, son Eris, my dad, my sister Maria, our family for their incredible support. And we really have had challenges, of course, losing my mother. And what can I say about my mother that hasn't already been said? Such beautiful tributes from people who knew her so well over so many years. And that's just such a treasure to bring back people like Phil and Leo, who really know my mom well for so long. That was just fabulous. Thank you so much. And what I thought I would just share a little with you today, because what so much has been talked about, I think, is really like the values that my mom lived by and how those came to life, and also the influence of San Jose City College. I just wanted to share a little bit about the way that I feel that my mom, through San Jose City College, was able to instill values in my sister, Maria, my brother Armando, and myself as children, because as was said, she is San Jose City College. This college is very important to her, and she brought some tremendous things to us through it, and I'll just give you a few examples. One is folklorico dancing. My sister and I, it was mentioned, we were Los Lupeños de San Jose, probably one of the greatest gifts of my life, to have been a folklorico dancer with my sister. And we started right here at City College with folklorico lessons. I was 7 years old and my sister was 9. And so our first lessons in folklorico and performances were through City College. So we're so thankful for that beautiful gift that really brought the ultimate value that certainly my mom embodies, which is such a pride and love for her culture. And the strength and what that gave to us, it was founded in folklorico as well as in my parents' own pride as Mexican Americans. So thank you for the gift of folklorico, San Jose City College. Another is music. I mean, you guys got a great music program. I know I took guitar here, piano. My brother was taking lessons. I'm sure my sister took music lessons here. So music was brought alive to us through City College at a young age. There was summer programs and things like that. So City College really brought us music. Art, we got from City College. I mean, my exposure to pottery was through the pottery that my mom used to buy us through the art program at City College. And through that, I understood from a very young age that people were learning how to do these things in college. So I think art was brought alive through San Jose City College. Another critical thing, work ethic. My mom used to take us to work when we were little kids. Talk about a hard worker. And boy, did we learn attention to detail, focus, things need to be done right. But we also learned about dedication and commitment and someone who was totally into their job and the consummate professional. And that's important when you learn that at a very young age. And in fact, I have to include the Leo Chavez story, because Leo Chavez was just someone that my mom admired so much. I mean, I admitted to my dad that I almost thought she had a crush on him when I was a little girl, because it's like, Leo was so smart. Leo was just going to be someone incredible someday. Leo was. And so, we were at the college one day working, and we had to collate this big giant, there wasn't collators back then, so we had to make a stack this big and then staple it. And then I realized we were doing all that because Leo was going to be in his office. My mom was going to give this to him, and he was going to read it, and that was his job. And I thought, oh, this Leo guy's so smart, and mom thinks he's so great, and then his job is to sit and read this big thing. I can do that. I'm going to be like Leo. Because really, for me, anyone that my mom admired that much, they had to be a very important, special person. So I think I learned that too. Political awakening. I remember just being a young girl, and my mom is walking precincts for Zoe Lofgren. And she believed in this woman. I knew that Zoe, and I didn't know what community college board was, I knew that Zoe was someone that my mom thought was going places. Look at her now. So my mom knew how to pick the winners. Maria Fuentes, of course, for so long. So political awakening. My mom, I learned that the importance of volunteerism, talked about canvassing, running a campaign. I didn't know she had done that, but I knew she was knocking on doors from a very young age. And then really after college, I worked with her again as an assistant in the president's office. And then I really learned what has been said about the dedication and the power of someone in her position who really knows how to utilize that position to advance greater good. And I was just very impressed with my mom's ability. And I also learned that I could never do her job. It was way too difficult. And that was really important for me to understand. And then what's been said, that she was able to do all that and be an incredible mother, wife, and grandmother, and I will definitely vouch for that, because as far as I'm concerned, my mom's like the best mom in the whole world, and grandma, because she spread love to all of her family. She made us feel like we were the most special, and that extended beyond her children. That extends to her nieces and nephews, her sisters, brothers. My mom was very special in our family. The way she made all of us feel so loved, supported, and special. And how did she do that? Well, because she believed in us. She believed in us. She built us up. She always built us up. She made us feel loved and special, and that was really no matter what we did. She also helped us become stronger and believe in ourselves more because of how she believed in us. And I feel that San Jose City College was the fertile ground where she developed and really expanded and spread that kind of love to other people. And the proof is here today. And it was students, it was faculty, it was her colleagues, it was the classified senate. I mean, her involvement with LEA, the Latina Leadership Network hasn't been mentioned, which was a statewide group of Latinas. I remember co-presenting on a panel with her. What an incredible opportunity to see that leadership my mom provided at the statewide level as well. And the classified council, that she cared so much. You thought she cared about the students? She did. She cared about the employees too. And just a tremendous love. So she took those lessons from City College, as has been mentioned, and she applied that when she got the opportunity to start her own foundation. She was an outstanding administrator. She did that all herself. She was an outstanding leader, and she was the president of that foundation. She was an outstanding community builder and working so well with the community. She embraced the community just like she was embraced and embraced the community at City College. Focus on the youth. She focused on the youth here. She focused on the youth at the foundation. And vision. She had a vision. Leah has a vision. Latina Leadership Network is a vision. She had a vision for Latinos in this campus and in community colleges. She had a vision here in San Jose as well. A vision for this Latino community. So my mom, she might be tiny, right under 5 feet. We call it small but mighty. That's my mom, and you all know it. So I agree with what was said by the mayor. The mother, my mother's legacy is for all of us to fulfill. And so that is, I think I see people here at City College fulfilling her legacy. Certainly at the foundation, her children will continue to do so. And I know all of you who have been inspired will be moving forward in that way as well. So thank you again to all of you for being here just from the bottom of my heart. This has been such a heart-warming moment today. Thank you, Jesus, and to everybody. We really appreciate your support for my mother. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Carmela. I was just remembering Carmen's fiery advocacy when you were speaking, and a lot of great memories of fighting the good fight. And you know, a lot of people think it was always just Carmen and Carmen and Carmen, but you know, Al had some things to say too. And I've had enough conversations with Don Alcario to know that I think that was something he and her shared together, was this kind of commitment to la comunidad and commitment to equity and justice for all of our community. So we are deeply honored to have Al here, and I want to thank you as you come up for your willingness to bless this event with your presence and to allow us to share together Carmen's important legacy and celebrate her life. As he makes his way up, I want to kind of remind, is it okay if I put my Chicano Studies hat on a little bit, just poquito? As we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, you know, a lot of times these holidays, especially this one, has become a little bit more commercialized, right? So we got to be careful that the meaning of it does not get lost in all the excitement that mainstream America is now celebrating Dia de los Muertos. But we need to know that this is actually an indigenous celebration. It goes back to ancient Mexico. Our ancient ancestors had a perspective about death that actually, if you look at like Judeo-Christianity, you know, in the Judeo-Christian world, we think of life after death, right? But yet, many Christians still fear death, even though we believe in the afterlife. You know, we are still afraid of death. We have Halloween, and we scare each other because why? We fear death. We're conditioned to, even though supposedly we believe in the afterlife, like your soul goes to a better place, right? Well, in ancient Mexico, our ancestors, right? They also believed in the afterlife and that your soul went to a better place. And so, but they really believed it. Like, they didn't trip about dying, right? because they knew it's not an ending. Right? They really took that to heart. And so they believe that your soul went to a better place and that it's a cool place, but that the souls come back and they celebrate you, and that we remember them and they come back and they join us on Dia de los Muertos. And so it's a joyous occasion because we're reunited with our family members who've come to celebrate with us again. So I want to make sure we know that this is a celebratory event and we're celebrating a beautiful life. And to help us do that, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Don Alcario Castellano. Please come on up, Señor. Gracias.
My name's Alcario, but most people call me Al. It's hard for them to pronounce Alcario. I can't say too much more than what already has been said. The only thing I can tell you a few personal things about my wife, the way I knew her, and perhaps how I met her. I met my wife. My friend was getting married, and he was marrying a friend of my wife's, and he asked me to be best man. So I told him yes. We had to go all the way to San Luis, and when I was there, Carmen was a guest there because the lady that my friend was marrying was a friend of Carmen's. So that's my first contact with Carmen. And of course, we were only there one day, and I was introduced to her, and my conversation with her was very mild, and I didn't know anything about her or nothing. And but then somehow, for some reason, I had just bought a new car, and I had a new nice Ford, and somehow, I don't know how she got to San Luis, but I offered to take her home to Watsonville. And I took her home back to Watsonville and a few other friends that came with me from the Bay Area to San Luis. So we talked there and what have you. And that's the first time I met Carmen. The second time I had a relation with Carmen, I got a job in Santa Cruz. And I moved from Milpitas to Santa Cruz. And I already knew what Carmen was working there. And I didn't know anybody in Santa Cruz, so I called Carmen just to maybe perhaps date her and have some conversations with her. And so I did. But when I left San Jose, I was engaged to be married. And so I used to come to San Jose and see my future bride. And then I used to go to back to Santa Cruz, and I would have meetings with Carmen. And then I thought, hey, wait a minute. I'm marrying the wrong girl. I better concentrate on this one over here in Santa Cruz. Carmen had a brilliant mind. She had a mind that predicting the future is incredible. She told me years after we were married, we were discussing when we first met. And she told me that she danced with me in a dance in Salinas. And I don't remember dancing with her. I used to dance with a lot of women. I don't remember who they were, but she told me that. And I don't know what about her got her to pay attention to me. Maybe I thought it was my sports car, but when Carmen and I got together, we had a lot of things in common. We liked things together and loved to do things together, and so that's the way we used to spend our time. Eventually, I decided, I thought about it, and then I did ask her to marry me. And of course, she said yes. And at that time, well, I wasn't, maybe she thought I was rich because I had a sports car at that time. This is my second car that I bought. And she just, well, anyhow, we got married, and I didn't have a lot of money. She didn't either. Her parents at one time were pretty well off, and some of the girls went to college, and they had good weddings and stuff like that. But at that time, her parents weren't financially enough to do a big wedding for us, so we decided we'd go to Reno and we got married. So we had a great time over there, and we got married and came home. And of course, we did that in about just a few days, and we came home, and no honeymoon. We just came back, and we both went to work the following Monday. So one thing I remember that week that we spent together on Saturday morning, it was in Rio Del Mar, and it was a nice bungalow that she lived in, and that's where we were at. And I got up Saturday morning, and I asked her about 8 o'clock, Carmen, come on, let's go. The sun is shining, let's go walk on the beach. And then she gets up, are you crazy? Today's Saturday. Today's the day that I sleep late. So I learned my lesson that this is the day after working all week, this is the day that she, okay, fine. But anyhow, life with Carmen, to me, was like a movie, because we worked hard together, and good things were always happening to us. Nothing ever seemed to go wrong. And of course, she had some friends, and she had some relatives she liked to visit. And of course, I went along with it. And hey, this was my new life. I had really had a hard life in my grown-up years, and this is the first time I ever discovered what real love was, living with Carmen. So we went together, living together like that, and then soon we had a couple of children. And first of all, I married Carmen in Santa Cruz, and we lived in Santa Cruz about 5 or 6 years, and we had our first child in Santa Cruz. And then she was pregnant with Carmela. This is when we were looking for a house in San Jose. It took us about a year to find a house in San Jose, but we finally did. I was looking for a 3-bedroom home because we had two small children and husband and wife, and she was looking for a 4-bedroom home because she had something in her mind in the future. And I asked her, well, why do you want a 4-bedroom home? Oh, well, we may have guests or something in the house. But that wasn't her plan. She was hoping that we would have a son soon. And with her vision, the vision came true. And then we had our son. So she always had this thing in her mind about someday owning a beach home. And I could never buy her a beach home before we hit the jackpot. But then after that, hey, we went to Santa Cruz looking for a home, and we saw about 30 homes, and she turned out buying, loving the biggest house we went to. She looked at that house, and she looked out the window. She could see the ocean here and there. Oh, well, this is a house I want. I says, Carmen, you're out of your mind. We can't afford this house. And she looks up at me, and she says, oh, yes, you can, Al. Boom, okay, we got it. So, but the thing about it is, the thing I will say, I sometimes wonder how in the world she ended up with me. And her excuse was, well, I knew you would be very supportive. I knew you would be, because I know how you supported your family, and I knew that you would be a good man for me to raise a family with. And well, what can I tell her? But then the adventure she was going through and the great things she was accomplishing, they were very, very hard to believe that she was doing it. I think the mayor mentioned something about her dealings with the foundations, big country foundations in the country. And I think that was her biggest achievement. When we first went to the first foundation, she saw rarely any people of color there. And she says, Al, this is so strange. There's no diversity in this place. And from that day on, she questioned it. But not much attention was paid that day. But then we attended about 7 or 8 other national conventions. And little by little, every time we went to a convention, she would bring it up. It took them 8 years to finally to give her a chance to get in front of that foundation audience, which is composed of nothing but very wealthy people that run the foundations in the country. And like he said, they gave her a bad time on stage because they didn't believe what she was saying. But she proved them wrong. But she made it, and she made her good points. But like I say, that was a fantastic achievement that she did. I can stay here for 2 hours and tell you the rest of our other achievements, but all I can tell you is I married an incredible woman. She gave me some incredible children. She had a vision that all our kids were going to be going to college. Not only did they go to college and graduated from college, but they went and beyond, and all 3 of them got master's degrees. I haven't met another family that's told me that all their 3 children got master's degrees. It's hard to make everybody get master's degrees, but because of her ability, what they learned from her English was perfect, and they learned the language from her. I guess the only thing I can tell you is because I'm big, tall, and I was strong, maybe I gave them some strength in their ability to survive. So I can honestly say that she kind of gave him the ability to be good learners, and I gave him the ability to be strong people. But anyhow, I certainly want to thank all of you for being here, all our friends that are here, and our non-friends for that matter, and Cuba Rubio for being so helpful, for making this thing possible. Thank you very much, and we'll meet again sometime. Thank you. Adios. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you all. Familia, how we doing? Everybody good? All right, we went over just a tad today, but I hope everybody found today to be uplifting, enjoyable. And as we close out, I want to just ask you to join me in making some important acknowledgments of folks that made this happen today. Of course, our Latino Education Association, the Castellano family, President Tamanaga, our San Jose City College president, Trustee Maria Fuentes, very key members of our Latino Education Association, Dr. Fabio Gonzalez and Xiomara Martinez, our co-chairs. From our theater department, Anita Reyes, who took the lead to help with this beautiful altar up here. Anita, we are very grateful for the generosity of your time to making this altar happen. Many of our LEA members have a lot of obligations. You know, the pandemic is, kids are at home and all these things, and I just want to thank Anita in particular for the sacrifice of doing that. Our marketing department, Daniel Garza, for your assistance in all of the work, including the program. Joe Andrade and our entire facilities folks here at City College for the setup. Yesenia Ramirez as well. And then, of course, from the music department, I want to thank our student, Alejandra Ruiz, my compadre, Charlie Montoya, and our photographer, Oscar, who's also here today. And I also wanted to acknowledge our president of our academic senate, Alex Lopez, is here. If I missed you all, I apologize. Of course, the Honorable Ron Gonzalez, of course, thank you for being here as well, and to our mayor, and to all of you. And please, if you haven't yet visited our altar, take some pictures. This, unfortunately, will have to be coming down after our event today. And so if you need to, if you can keep some social distance as you do that, we'd greatly appreciate it. And what? Thank you again, and que viva Carmen Castellano. Carmen, we will continue your fight, and we feel your presence and your spirit with us every time we fight for social justice here at City College. Thank you.